What's up, guys? Welcome back to the WRPF podcast. I'm your host, Alex Uslar, episode 40. Phillip Herndon. All right, Big Phil. If you guys don't know him, he has done some impressive shit over the last couple of years in Raw with reps, and even putting on a damn suit and going multi-ply, right? So we're gonna talk about the journey of jumping between all of those, from bombing out of meets to having great performances and everything in between. You've been competing for a long ass time. Like everyone knows, I always got open powerlifting open, and you've competed a shit ton of times, to say the least.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to hear your story. Thanks for hopping on and welcome, bro.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. So what came before powerlifting? What built you into this huge unit that you are today?
So when in high school, I just played football. I was super small. I was like 150 pounds. So I did that. I played sports growing up, soccer, baseball, basketball, and then played football. In high school, that's when I just played football, focused on that. Um, it was all right. I mean, I was small, so kind of like I was fast. So I was just running back. Um, and then an outside linebacker. But I I liked it, but it wasn't like what I knew. Like I didn't want to go to like college or play football. Like I was just too small. Um, so our strength coach was had background in powerlifting. So like our football workouts were squat, bench, deadlift, and then the accessories, hang clean and stuff like that. So I kind of was like already doing a squat, bench, deadlift. Um, I'd say like my junior year, I started really focusing on that. Then I did my first, it's got high school federation, but a high school powerlifting meet my junior and senior year. So after that, once I graduated high school, like I said, I wasn't going to go to college or anything like that, and I was still wanting to be competitive and do something, not just sit at home and do nothing. So I like took, I guess, powerlifting more serious, or like try to do that, go into that, and look up meets. And I think I did my first meet 2013 when I graduated, um, like December of that year. So that
So,
was my
so what was that early exposure like in high school? You had an actual coach who understood powerlifting, so it was a pretty good foundation. You were like training smart, correctly, as opposed to most people just in a regular high school weight room.
yeah. I mean, we had he wrote like a workout. It was kind of like like the 5x5, like cookie cutter kind of thing. Good base, and then he kind of just oversaw everything and gave us percentages to do, and watched our form. And usually when someone had like, it was kind of small, so there was only like probably a group of like 15 of us, and we would switch back and forth. Like half, like some of the team would go do like speed and agility, and then the other team would do the strength conditioning. That way, like someone was watching more closely. So I had a good base and like the technique, and someone was like always watching basically. So I came up pretty good, not like you said, just throwing around weights and not knowing what I was doing.
So was it one of those things, kind of as you're finishing high school, you're seeing that everyone or a lot of your friends' trajectories might be trying to go pro or continue doing it in college? And was it just early on you were really bit by powerlifting and you just liked it? Or was it like, man, I got to put on some size. Maybe this is the way to do it? Or like, did you know like right from early on this was the route you wanted to go?
Yeah, so I mean, I did it just to kind of help put weight on. Uh, um, but like I just, if you're not eating correctly, then you're not really going to put the weight on. I put a little bit of size on. I might have gotten up to like 165 for football. And then once my senior year, the football season was over, I decided to track. Um, Kind of weird, but I think I lost some weight there, so I was like back to 150. I did the sprints, the 100 meter, and I was like kind of knew then, like I didn't really like football because I like doing like so for track I was like, how do I get faster? So I was looking up like ways to get faster, and I kind of like made my workouts towards that. and it was just like squatting with bands or chains, and then box jumps, just like a different variation of kind of what I was doing with the 5x5. So, I did the track thing, and then after I kind of knew like this is fun, like learning how to get stronger, to get faster as well. And then like I said, I knew I didn't want to go to college playing sports, so I was just like, I'm just gonna do powerlifting, which is like it's just all on me. So like I have to do the work to get better, which I like enjoyed. I had to like rely on other people, like a team sport, messing me up, or you know relying on them.
So what did that look like getting out of high school? You said you competed for the first time and in 2013. What kind of gym were you training at? What kind of environment were you in? And how did you find and select that first competition?
So after high school, the strength and conditioning coach had a 2-car garage, and he lived near me, so we just had it was me and some other guy, and we just trained at his garage at 5 p.m. every day. So we did that for first couple years, I think like 3 years, maybe
Oh,
2 or 3 years.
wow.
Yeah. I mean, there was no heat. It was freezing sometimes, or super hot other days. So that's I kind of just started there from nothing really, just barbell weights and whatever we could put together. And then
Powerlifting was still very, very niche underground, and I'm sure there was probably no local powerlifting gyms in your area at that time.
no, and there still isn't. I travel 45 minutes just to go to the gym, a powerlifting gym every day. So it's all I have commercial gyms up here, which like they work for my accessories and a few things, but not everything.
So take me through finding that first competition. You select that first competition. What was it like going into that, coming from a football team background, and were you like really bit by it going into that?
Yeah, the whole like process. Like I said, I did the high school meets, so I kind of knew the process of it, but this was more because I was focused on it, and not I didn't have like the football outside, or school or anything like that. So I was just 100% focused on getting stronger and seeing if I like actually wanted to do this or enjoyed it. Because when you put 100% in something, and that's like you're taking all your time up. It's like, do I actually like this? Like, hopefully I do. So I really enjoyed it. I think I did it was American Open in 2013 at the end of it. And I, in the warm up room, there was Ray Williams, yeah, and he was squatting like a ton. Then I think he squatted like not in the nines at that time, and I was like, oh, this is like awesome. Like I want to do that. Like I just want to have that stack of weights on the end of the squat bar, and I never thought I could because I was only 165, 70 pounds or whatever. So I was like, maybe one day I'll get there, but it's like something that it's humanly possible to do. So I might not be 300 pounds to do it, but if I try to like think about, there's a lot of room for growth here, and that's what I enjoy, is that like that progress and the whole process of powerlifting.
Well, that's absolutely insane for your first like actual competition for you to be exposed. That's something I like to ask people in your early days of powerlifting. Who were some of the people you were exposed to? Who are some of the people you're watching, whether it's on YouTube or whatever? But for you to be able to be face to face with who was one of the best and then went on to become, the best raw squatter of all time, that's a pretty crazy first experience and thing to be around.
Yeah, absolutely. It was kind of terrifying, but it was definitely like, oh, this is awesome. Like you don't get that. Like I wasn't even doing the weight. I was just watching, and the adrenaline rush was just like everybody yelling, or like the crowd and everything was just like, this is I want to do that. Even
So
though now I hate crowds. I hate when I could lift when completely quiet. Like I don't even like it anymore.
well, the ghost class is definitely not the right place for you then, but
No.
bug it. Miami's fun anyway. So going from that first meet in December of 2013, a year gap before your second competition for the same competition again, December 2014, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So you continue building from there before going on again, and then you begin competing. You're competing for a very long time, all in the USAPL, competing in Raw Nationals, different regional meets, etc., kind of climbing up like that, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I
So
think
take me through those first couple of years because there's a lot of competitions on there as a junior, very, very frequently, whether you were at 205, 181, kind of going up, going down. What were those first couple of years like? Were you just trying to get as much exposure as possible, figuring out your weight class, figuring out how to get stronger? What was that like?
yeah, so I watched like a lot of YouTube videos at the time. I think I only had that coach for I want to say 2 years. And then we kind of got together with like a group of people, and this was I had since moved to another gym. It was part of a church, and they had deadlift platforms, just like it was like commercially. Um, and we had a group of people that trained the same time. It was like 5 p.m. There was like four of us, and I was watching all these YouTube videos of like Dan Green and 2013. I guess that's when YouTube was kind of like getting more out there. So all these videos started popping up, and I was just trying to like learn how to eat and like grow and put on muscle and get stronger. So my weight class kind of like I was like I still wanted to look decent, so I kept going up to like 205 as like my bulk, and then I would do like a 181 cut. So yeah, I just watched a lot of YouTube, and I kind of did the 5x5 training for most of my like beginning, and then I tried the small off program, which destroyed me.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
You and everyone else around that time of 10 years ago, 8, 9 years ago.
yeah, and I was like, yeah, I'm definitely not eating enough for this, and I can't recover. So it was a short-lived program, but um, yeah, I tried the Brandon Lilly programs. Um,
Cube method.
yeah, the Q method, and then the Ed Cohn method one as well. But I think I always came back to like the 5x5 because it just seemed more like a good linear like progression, and I didn't feel like super beat up, and my recovery was really well. But also like everybody else I trained with kind of stuck to that same 5x5, so we kind of all like train together and do almost the same thing. Um, so I think I was in the USAPL till like 2018, somewhere around there. Maybe 2017 was the Raw Nationals. I think in October was my last before I started venturing off into wraps. And at that time, I was in a garage again when I started getting back into the wraps.
So at what point, so in those years, you said 2015, 2016, 2017, competing very frequently, local level, Raw Nationals each year, continually getting stronger and progressing. But at what point did you kind of realize, okay, I'm doing well, I have good potential, but maybe I have what it takes to take it to the next level in the untested side of things and go over to, USPA, WRPF, etc.
So my goal for Raw Nat before I left Raw National or the USAPL, I wanted to. I think the Arnold qualification was like a 450 dots, maybe, or 400 dots. I don't know. It was one of those, but Raw Nationals, I hit that, and then so, like I knew 2018. I think it was the first Kern U.S. Open, and that was like a really big meet, and the whole that like vibe was like much more exciting than like the Raw Nationals almost. And I just kind of drifted over to that side of things, and the weights that people were doing was kind of the weights that I was first exposed to. So that's what I was like, this is where I can hit my bigger numbers or my goals that I've always wanted to squat. At first it was like 800, and I think I did that in I got in reps in 2018. The first time I squatted 733. I think at the Philly Fit Expo. Um, around two, I think it was 220 then. So like my weight kind of just kept going up, and I really just enjoyed the process of everything, and like I just kept the meets. Like I did so many meets because it kept me like grounded, and it just kept making me want to drive to get better each time. And I always like was super focused when I knew like I think everybody is super focused when they have a meet coming up and they get in that meet prep. So like every time I'd be done one, I'd be like, when's the next meet? So I can get like, cool down for a little bit and then get right back into being super focused and getting stronger.
Well, it's funny what you just said a couple minutes back. A lot of people now and modern day powerlifters will be like, wait, what the heck? Like Raw Nationals, what it was 6, 7, 8 years ago was not exciting like what it is today, So
Yeah.
like a couple years ago, people are looking at the US Open, the Boss of Bosses, they're looking at these other meets that have so much more allure, where nowadays Raw Nationals, USAPL stepped it up, put it on a whole nother level. But it's like, you've been there, done that, you competed on that, and you see this other stage, because at the time that's where powerlifting had the most growth, it had the most upward trend, was in that side of things. Whether you were tested or an untested lifter, you were looking at those meets, you were watching those meets, right?
Yeah.
So go ahead.
And then like, seeing the people I was watching on YouTube, like Kevin Oak and, the Lily Bridges and Dan Green, like they were still competing. And I was like, I want to, try to get into, competing with them. And I thought it was, that was like a goal of mine too. I never got to because I wasn't, I didn't get better until most of them retired. But, and watching the animal cage too, I went to the Arnold and I was like just standing at the animal cage. I was like, I want to get in there one day or do these weights. Like just seeing so many people do, all the weight, the heavy lifting, like just like made me know that it is like possible. And, I might not be like the biggest guy at the time. I was like, even trying to like do 800 pounds and probably squash me right now. But knowing someone can do it doesn't mean that I can't do it. So that was just like what I was going for.
Yeah, well, it was a no-brainer, because then there, from that 2017 meet to your first USPA meet in 2018, like you said, squatted 733 in reps, totaled 1890, and that obviously right there was probably a big turning point. At that point, you're getting to the point where you can probably start getting noticed, start qualifying for these other bigger meets. So that kind of what then started sparking your eyes on the pro series of being able to go to a meet like the US Open and working towards that.
Yeah, I mean, like once I hit that, the 1800 total, um, my next one was I didn't even think about 1900. I was like 2000, and I don't know. It probably took me like 3 meets to get there, 4 meets after that, maybe. I don't know. I think I did like 1970 and then like 2050. I like jumped way over that, and I think that's when I squatted. I squatted 850 in that beat, but yeah, the U.S. Open, like getting the invite and being like on that stage with like Yuri Belkin, Taylor Woolham, it was just like I finally like got there, and that was like a really good feeling. And now I was like, well, these guys are like way better than me. So I was like, now I have to like I can't get invited to any more meets if I get invited to that one. So now I just have to really like just get stronger in general.
So what flipped, what changed from their perspective wise? Obviously, you see all these pros, you're around them, you do well, right? You still, manage to put up 544 dots at that time. Nothing to, scoff about, but in the grand scheme of things, you're around all these pros, but you still then go back to then compete at the tribute meet, right?
Yeah, which was another invite meet. And I was I was chasing the 198 like all time record of time, which was Ben Pollock, and he had like it was like 20. It was like right over 2000. And my off season training was like really well. I was at like 225 or so, and I was like, I'm gonna do this really big cut to 198. And I was still young, so I didn't like understand what cutting does to you, and how bad you feel afterwards, and will you recover enough to be something on the meet day. So I think I cut from 225. I remember this because it was terrible. 225 all the way down to, I missed weight by 1 pound. It was in San Antonio, Texas. Super hot out. I was sitting in a hot tub with like the sun just baking me. I was just sweating, and yeah, I missed it by 1 pound. I still missed it on it. They're like, do you want to try again? I was like,
I see that. Open Powerlifting confirms that. I didn't
yeah,
realize that at first.
yeah, yeah. It was a very big cut, and yeah, it was terrible. That
So
was my like,
that was a big eye opener on weight cuts and figuring out how to manipulate things. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It was kind of from there. I never really like, my max like cut was like 10 pounds maybe, because I was just like, there's no point in traveling for these big meets you know, if I do bad because I wanted to be reckless and cut 30 pounds and just like lower my chance. I mean, some people can do it. Just shocks my like seeing.
It's crazy how everyone's body responds different to it, right? There's some people who can do those absolutely insane cuts, recomp perfectly, and then you could take the exact same person, put them through that exact same routine with that exact same recomp, and their body just doesn't receive it back the same way. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Maybe,
call it genetics, call it whatever it is. It's just how your body responds to it. So that obviously was your eye opener. And from there, you never even tried that 198 again. Hell, you never even went to 220 again. From there, you're like, all right, I'm just going to go up even more.
yeah. It was 242 for, I want to say like 3 years, maybe, yeah, 3 years. And then I started getting to that point of like, my cuts started getting above 10 pounds, and I was like, I'm just gonna go. That's when I started making the jump to 275, which I hated because I was like, I think my first meet, which 275 was last year. I believe it was the Ghost actually, and I weighed in at like 260 maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like trying, like I was eating everything I possibly could. I had a whole pizza the night before weigh-ins, like just just couldn't put weight on. So I finally like am starting to bump up now, but I was at 260, and I think I competed like 4 weeks after the Ghost. It was like 258. So I'm still trying to fill out that 275 class.
So take me through those couple of meets after the Pioneer, after those learning lessons. I mean, like you said, you had your eyes set first on an 800-pound squat, like we talked about a little while ago. You went and your first time squatting 800, you squatted 850, right? You absolutely decimated getting into the 800s. Then, literally 2 meets later, you squat 905, right? So, where's your head at through all this, having this insane rate of progress and doing squats that are, only a small percentage of people have ever done? At what point did things like all-time world records, being the best squatter ever, like when did you start seeing that as the near future? And then when was that first all-time world record break through this kind of timeline that we're looking at?
So when my squat started shooting up, I'm trying to think. I had a couple of coaches. Um, I never really enjoyed somebody coaching me because I just like, so I work a night shift job, and like following a program is super hard because like I work 12 hours overnight, and then, trying to, follow a program, I might not feel the best, or just like I just don't have like a normal schedule. So it's kind of hard to follow a program, like hit the percentages. And, I'm one of those people that's like, if I see it like on a piece of paper, like I have to do it. Like, I don't want to make like, well, for one, I'm, paying a coach, and then I don't want to waste my money, or, I don't want to let them down either. So it was like really hard just to follow the whole structure. Um, but just like, I talked to a lot of like, just a lot of people around me, as well, like having the coaches, like taking bits and pieces off of programming that I've had over the years. And, I started I squatted 800 the first time. I remember this. It was the first time in a garage. It was, well, yeah, my garage. no spotters, nothing. Like put wraps on, no music, just I have to do this. So like from there, I kind of like once I hit that 800-pound mark, I kind of knew like, well, I just kept doing what worked for me to get to the 800. Um, and like knowing that I could do, like that was my first goal. And then I was like, well, what's next? So like, the next number is 850, then 900. So just putting like those numbers in my head and chasing it, like I just, I don't know, I never felt like unstoppable. Like it never felt impossible to even reach that. Um, and I started kind of incorporating like my own training for like bands and chains and, switching up kind of like into like a West Side conjugate style. And it felt just better for me with my schedule because, I go in without like a program. I know what I'm doing that day, but like I'm doing squats on Monday. Like I don't have a percentage. I don't, I just go in. I'm like, what am I going to do today? Like, what bar are we going to use? Because now I train with like a group of people. And this time, after I squatted 800 garage, I was like, I kind of need to get into a gym. Like I'm getting to the point of like things aren't that safe anymore. So um, like I said, I travel 45 minutes to Exile now, and it's like a big powerlifting community. They have all the, all the equipment that I need. So once I started training there, like the people around me also like kind of pushed me to be better. Like, because in a garage, you're the only person. So like who you going against? Just yourself. And that works, but for only so long. So, your people next to you like pushing you and kind of chasing you. So you got to start pushing a little bit harder. And I mean, I don't really, with my weight gain, it helped my squat go up, but I kind of just stuck to the same things that helped me like boost my squat from 733 to 800. And I just, just worked a little bit harder. And some things have changed in my training, but for the most part, it's kind of the same it has been for the past 3 years.
So jumping back and forth between like those last 3 years again, where you became a 900-pound and 1,000-pound squatter, and jumping back and forth between primarily competing in wraps, but also having some raw sprinkled in there. How much did the raw training play affect to your wrapped squat? Where was the decision on when to compete raw versus wrapped, and still going into kind of present day with that?
Yeah, so I was primarily wraps for when I had started in the USP. I only did, I think, one sleeve meet after, or a couple sleeve meets after that. So I broke my first all-time world record, I think 950. Yeah, at 242. And that was in 2019, I think, maybe 2020. It was like during when stuff was getting shut down. So whatever that was. um, and I took it as my fourth attempt, and I really like didn't think I could do it, but I was like in the range of, I think my third attempt was like 900 or 920, and it moved really well. And at the time, you still take fourth attempts in some federations, but so I took a fourth attempt, and I was like 920 moved really well. I talked to the guy who runs Exile. He was there with me, and he's like, just go out there and do the same thing you did for 920. So I said, okay. So I get it, and I got a lot of like hate for that. People said it was high, whether it was or not. It didn't bother me. But then I started people getting on me about I can only do like squat and wraps. So then I was like I can squat in anything. Like I'll squat anywhere. I'll compete in any federation, which you see I'd probably squat it or competed in 7 to 10 different federations. It doesn't really matter where. So once people said I couldn't do it in wraps, I was like, well, I'll do it in sleeves. Like I think I broke the 242 record in sleeves at like 870. Um, yeah. Yeah, it was like 870. But handling the more weight and reps, kind of like when I put the sleeves on, it was like I was doing weights I've done for reps before. So like mentally, I didn't even like get worried about doing the weight. That's like the first thing. Like most people are like, it's a lot of weight. Like, they get in their head. So like, squatting in the sevens and sleeves, I think at the time my best was like 733 in sleeves when I like transitioned back to sleeves after squatting 950 in reps. Um, so I was like, wow, I'm way off. So I was like, I'm going to train my raw squat up, and it should help my reps. And my raw squat it just skyrocketed. Like I said, just I've been used to those weights before, so doing them now, it doesn't really like feel different in sleeves. The technique changes a little bit. I just have like a closer stance now, but I actually like sleeves a lot more now. I don't even like doing wraps, but it was kind of like I didn't do it for myself at first for the sleeves. I just did it to like kind of prove it that if I'm going to be able to be the best in wraps, I want to be the best in sleeves for squatting. So that was kind of like once I did that first 870 sleeve squat to break the 242 all-time world record, I was like, I want to squat 900 in sleeves. So my wrap squat kind of took like a back seat. I didn't like train it that much, but I did. I think when I did someone broke Dan. I don't know his last name. I can't say it, but Danny broke the 242 all time record squat and reps like 953 at the first Ghost Clash, I think.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I gotta get back. So I like took the sleeves off, went back to the wraps, and I think chipped it at 959 like a couple months later. And I haven't returned to do 242, so that's a done deal there.
You were able to seal it off right there, right?
Yeah. Now I'm just like, can you go break it, please?
So then you competed. Freaks Come Out at Night, squatted at 870. Ghost Clash, competed in sleeves. After that, went again shortly after, a month after the Ghost Clash last year, competed again in sleeves, successfully squatted at 906, right?
Yeah.
And went on to squat your first 1,000 in wraps as well, right? With a 2,300-pound, absolutely insane day. We're on track to have an even crazier day at the American Pro, but dodged a bullet, right? Nearly bombing out with 953, but still managed to put together an absolutely insane total with a 400-kilo attempt deadlift, right? So this is bringing us to kind of present day in your most recent package that you brought to the competition floor, right? That even on a 4 for 9 day still had an absolutely insane day. So kind of take me through that last meet, where your goals were for that last meet, if things had gone according to plan, and where things kind of went wrong and where it will now be going forward.
Yeah. So at the last American Pro, I had a really good training, like all season training or even meet prep, I should say. Um, and then I got this stomach bug like 2 weeks out, and I had lost, I don't know, like 12 pounds. And it was 14, yeah, it was 14 days before the actual meet. And this happened the year before that too. When I did bomb out 20 the 2022 American Pro, I bombed out. I got sick 2 weeks before that. So I was like, I started getting sick, and I was like, man, this must be an American Pro thing. But it wasn't as bad. So I was able to like, get my weight back up. I think I weighed in like 263, which is the lightest I was like training at. I was like 270 most mornings. Um, so like I had a really good meet prep, and I think my training total, which doesn't, really matter obviously, but it was like close to 2,400 pounds. So I was going in, my eyes were on the total record. maybe not this meet, but the next one. So for to break Zahir's 275 all time world record total. Yeah, I got sick, and then the meet didn't go as planned, obviously, but the moment of almost bombing out again kind of was like I've done 953. I don't know, I've doubled it. Like I've done this, so I can't do it now. And a lot of it was for it was just like mental for me. Like I kept getting, I guess, too hyped up. I'm a very like calm lifter. I, like I said, I could lift with it being completely quiet and be happy about that. It was like with all the like yelling and just the hype. I was like, my energy level was just like way too high for me to like stabilize the bar like I should. And successfully squatting it after missing it twice was kind of big. It was like it was a learning curve that I need to like kind of just hone in my focus more, especially getting into like the bigger weights. And it's not like I haven't squatted that before, but these bigger meets, like I said, there's more production, there's more lights, cameras, people yelling everywhere. So for me, it was just like a big learning, like just being calm and like trying to like calm myself down before even attempting it, and just like everybody says, like do like you just think of it as the gym, but it's a little bit harder to do that when you have all that stuff going on. Which is kind of what I did on my third attempt to get that 953. So and then I went for the 400 kilo deadlift to try to get second place overall. My best in training was like 860, and I was like, like we'll just give it a try. So that's kind of why I went for the 400 kilos to end the day. But that whole training, I was in the back of my head, I kind of was like looking at the geared side, the equipment side. So I was training in single-ply that whole time as well for the American Pro Prep. I was in a single-ply squat suit and bench shirt. So it kind of helped my training with like just handling more weight. But after the American Pro, I competed, I think 3 weeks. 3 weeks later, I did the single-ply meet. And there I was kind of looking at the records as well. Like I said, I wanted to be kind of like the best squatter in all disciplines, like sleeves, wraps. Like I don't want, I don't want people to think, oh, I can only do it because I'm wearing wraps or, wearing a squat suit. Like I have, the record in wraps, sleeves, like what else is there? So I'm just kind of just toying around with the equipment side. So now that I'm done with single ply, because I got the squat record there at 1070. So now I want to go for the multi-ply squat record as well. But I also want to do the sleeve record at the Ghost Clash this year.
Hell yeah. Well, so to kind of digest some of those different goals, those different avenues, one of the things that you said, if not, at the American Pro or one of the next meets eventually, what's kind of the Mount Olympus, right? Coming for who has been or who was one of the best 275ers ever, right? Zahir, who's now making a fucking comeback, which is absolutely insane, right?
Yeah.
So that would be so crazy to see you to be able to go head to head with him one day and see him if and when and how he comes back. Because watching that has been, very crazy. So that's cool to see that that's potentially one of the goals is coming for that total. Then the sleeve squat for the Ghost Clash. So Ghost Clash 3, we're going back to sleeves, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm I was on the edge of not even doing any. I was kind of just going to focus on multiply this year because I want to do I want to be the third person ever to over total 3,000. There's only two people that have done it ever, so I don't know. I put these like weird goals in my head. I'm like, I know I can do it because I've said I'll squat this or I've total this, and I usually do it. I don't know, just like gives me that drive to like push harder. And there's only like you can only get so strong, and like there's so many things that it's so repetitive. So it's kind of like you have to like keep chasing something. And yeah, it's not like I said about the whole training in a garage, like nobody's chasing you or no one's pushing you. So it's kind of like now, I do have people chasing me or pushing me, but I need to like get to the next kind of like what's the next, like I said, like Zahir's goal or total is my goal. So like I have that in the back of my head still. Like there's like a lot of different avenues that I can do that just keeps giving me that drive to really like try to be at the top. So um so I guess I wasn't really planning on doing a sleeve meet this year. I was just gonna focus on the multiply. And I was like, I broke the 90 I broke the squat record with 906 after it was held for 6 years. And then someone broke it like a month later after they took it from me. And I was like, I'm gonna come back and do it. So like just warm it, keep it warm for me. And it's been a year now, I think. So I was like, I have to just, what nothing's ever stopped me from competing back to back or 5 times a year. So why let it do it now kind of thing. So I'm kind of like fully honed in on the sleeve record, and I would like to total 2,300 at the Ghost Clash in sleeves. I think my best is like 22:57 or 58. So I think my goals for that was like 9:30, 5:30, and then 8:40, somewhere around there. So that's kind of the plan for now. And then I'm still training in multiply. Like Mondays are usually my multiply squat days, and then Fridays are my raw sleeved squat days. So I'm balancing both.
That's interesting, man. That's super unique. And I think that's something that I don't know of anyone who has done, So besides the feat of having the multiple records at once, training for the multiple disciplines at once and balancing them at once is something that's very, very unique and very, very cool to see how it will be accomplished and how each will translate over to the other. Right. Because obviously with multiply, you can only get so much work in, I'd imagine, with that, since the intensities and the loading has to be so much higher than what it has to be with no gear on. Right. So it's probably a nice balancing act that you're able to get work in a different way that will only help and transfer over to that.
Yeah, so that was kind of my thought was like I do completely my own training now. Like I don't follow anybody, but so that's kind of my thought with I can only do so much in the multiply. Like because after going up to a top set, I'm just like I don't want to do anything else back down wise. So I was like, well, I'm gonna be training raw anyway, so that's kind of why I was like, I'm just gonna do this meet because for one, nothing has stopped me before, so I'm just gonna do it, and I went with the record back, and it's it makes it a long week because, like I said, I squat with multiply on Mondays, and then Friday, it's like I gotta get. Usually Fridays were kind of like a dynamic effort, like speed day, like super easy, just kind of just going through the motion, and now it's like I gotta push my raw squat. Um, and it's a totally different, multiply. I'm like a wide stance, high bar, and then my raw squats, narrow stance, sleeves, and low bar. So it's kind of like a different. It's weird for sure. And then like the whole like weights, like one day I'm like the beginning of the week I'm loading 1100, and then it's like I get to like 800, and I'm like, well, this is gonna be easy because I just squat 1100, but I forget that I take everything off, and I gotta strain through it or whatever. But I think it's a good like mix. I probably wouldn't recommend it to too many people. It's definitely like hard on the CNS, but we're to see how it works for the next 10 weeks.
Agreed. I think everyone listening and everyone can watch and see how it all unfolds, how it works out, and then hey, who knows? You might be onto something. You might be a new trendsetter, right? Who knows?
Yeah, because I'm still training my raw bench on a separate day, and then in a bench shirt benching like in the eights. So it's going from 500 to 800 is a little different. And then I do conventional for raw and then sumo for my gear lifting. So I'm getting a lot of work in everywhere. But
I'm excited to keep watching this training and watching it all unfold, right? I'm excited to see it all come into play. Watch you again at the Ghost Clash. Have you back down here for the Ghost Clash 3. I think your goals are super realistic. I'm super excited to see it. It's going to be a stacked competition. Let everyone know where they can find you on social media. Follow along on your training, and thanks for hopping on and letting us know all this stuff, man.
yeah, absolutely. You can follow me on or find me on Instagram at Phillip_Herndon. So yeah, I mean, thank you for having me on again, and I'll see you in Miami. So
Miami's always a party. I'll make sure I shut off the music. Tell everyone shh, just for the
hey,
third attempt squat.
yeah.
Hell yeah, man. Well, thank you for hopping on. Thank you, everyone, for joining us and listening to this week's episode of the WRPF podcast.
All right, thank you.